All right, starting in video 3, and we're in the middle of Roman numeral 2 on your handout. And so video 3. So let's start with the stage. So this big area here that's flat is the stage. Typically it's black. May not always be, but most of them I've seen are black. So this is the stage. Eventually this is where our slide is going to sit, and we'll show you exactly where it's going to sit, but that's our stage. And then how we get something into focus. What we are going to do, we are not moving up and down or fine focusing like you do in a binoculars. We're going to move our object closer to or further away from our lenses by moving the stage. So our slide is going to sit on the stage. I'll put it on here in just a second. But we're going to get our slides, get our object into focus by moving the stage, and we can move the stage two different ways. We have two different knobs. We have the coarse adjustment, which is the large knob, and then the fine adjustment, which is the smaller knob. And if we look, they're symmetrical, they're on either side, and either one does the same thing. So you can use either hand, but I'll show you in just a minute. You're going to use your left hand most of the time, but not all the time. All right, so if we really want to move the stage quickly, we'll quickly get something into focus, or just we want to move it up and down quickly, we're going to use this coarse adjustment, okay? And we can actually get something into focus by doing it very slowly. We'll talk about that here in just a second. And then to really get something in a sharp focus, you're going to move that stage very incrementally, very small, in small steps, if you will, and you use this fine adjustment. And if you look, you can even see it moving, but it actually is moving. So if I did this like 120 times, it would eventually move this. You could see it moving up and down. But this actually does move the stage, but teeny tiny increments, so we can get it into fine focus. So coarse adjustment, fine adjustment. Okay, I'm gonna move it back all the way down. Mechanical stage. All right, so this silver and a little bit of black here, but mostly it's silver. This is the mechanical stage, which mechanical means move. This is the part of the stage that we're gonna move our slide from side to side, and also gonna hold our slide in. So let's go ahead and put a microscope slide in there, typically this shape, this thickness, but we do have a fancy slide that we're gonna look at later. But this is our clip, and this is what holds the slide into place. Let's pull our clip out. You can see, essentially, it's sort of an L shape with this little notch back here, but our slide wants to fit all the way back and to the right, nice and snug in this corner in this L, and our clip holds it into place. So you can see that clip is just gonna hold it into place nice and snug. We never want the clip up on top. If it's up on top, that means this is loose. We can tighten it here. And if this clip gets loose and it gets on top of our slide and we try to move it, it's not gonna move very well. So the clip needs to be pushing against this corner and keeps our slide pushed back and snug and tight and firm in our mechanical stage. All right, let's see how we can move the mechanical stage. So when we're moving this mechanical stage, we are going to we can move our slide around, we can move it back and forth, left and right, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second, to find an object here on our slide, and then we're going to move our stage up and down to get it into focus. So let's come around to this side, and we have these mechanical stage adjustment knobs. We have a top one and a bottom one. The top one moves the whole stage, but only moves it away from you and back. So back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And if you can see here, we can see the light coming up through. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But this light, that's the area on our slide that's lit up, the little circle, that's what we're going to be seeing. That's the area that we're going to be seeing as we look down into it. And we can move our slide around to find our object, because usually our object is not where we want it to be initially. So the top knob moves it back and forth, and then the bottom knob just moves the mechanical stage left and right. So between these two, we can go all over the slide to find our object. Okay? So back and forth, so we can move it all over the place to find wherever our object is on our slide. Okay? All right, what's next? Condenser. All right, our light source. Sorry, number 10, our light source. Here's our light source on the base. You can see the light coming through. Turn up real bright. Then there's our brightness control. Look at that again in just a second. But our light bulb is inside here. And then the light is coming up through. And if we can sneak under here a little bit, this is the condenser. This other little cylinder here that's attached underneath. The light's going to go through that. And that condenser, primarily, a little beyond my pay grade, but what the condenser does, when you change objective lenses, go from like a 40 magnification to 100 magnification to a 400 magnification, that helps keep it into focus. So this is a fancy little thing here that helps keep things into focus. And in addition, on our condenser, we have this lever. It really sticks out to the left and to the front. See this lever. And this lever, you can see, is essentially an aperture which is opening and closing, and that allows amount of light. So we can control the amount of light so we can find and see our object better. And then, so that's one way we control light. So there's two ways we can control light, and you're always going to need to mess with these so you can see your object as best you can. So that this aperture lever opens and closes it. That's one way to adjust the light. And then the other way to adjust the light that we've talked about is the brightness control. So we can control light two different ways. This aperture lever, opening and closing our condenser to lets light up and through, and then really the power or the brightness of the light itself. This is amount, this is brightness. So we're going to mess with these because the light could be, I guarantee you right there, that's all the way open, that's all the way bright. There is no way you can see the objects, the little microbes that we're going to be able to look at because they're microscopic and they're actually transparent. So you're going to need not a whole lot of light really to see these things best. Okay, so here's my first little hint. So I like to put my brightness on about medium. And then, and I just from experience and looking at microorganisms, yeast and bacteria, I can promise you, all the way open this aperture, way too much light. What I do, I start by closing it all the way. You can see there's no light coming through, and I'm going to open it just a little bit. And that may be about as much light as you need to really see your object. But close it, open up just a little bit as you start trying to find your object. Then when you find it, and you start getting into focus, then you can mess with it some more. You may need more or less to really see your object the best. Okay. All right, we've already done the brightness control and the off-on switch. So we're gonna get something into focus here in just a little bit, and we're gonna look at this a little bit more, but that is the end of video 3.